So I'm a climate physicist. I'm interested how the climate will change in the future and how it changed in the past. Mainly how the carbon will get redistributed to the ocean and to the land. The Earth gets warmer because we actually put a lot of fossil fuel emissions, so carbon emissions, into the atmosphere, and this heats up the Earth's surface. But it doesn't heat up that much because the ocean actually takes up a lot of heat. So that's why the temperature is not that high as it would be if the ocean wouldn't take up the heat. So if we driving car or so we're burning a lot of fossil fuels, and this goes into the atmosphere. And this CO2 actually traps it actually warms up the Earth. But it doesn't warm up the Earth that much because the CO2 actually also goes into the ocean and into the land biosphere. So the land, like forests or trees, takes up the carbon, but also the ocean, with all the overturning in the ocean, it sucks up the carbon and transports that to the deep ocean. So what we know is, like, if we put like 100 units or whatever into the atmosphere, like 25 of these 100 goes into the ocean, 25 goes into the land, and 50 only stays in the atmosphere. So a quarter of all the carbon goes into the ocean. So we don't have that much warming as it would be without the ocean and the land biosphere. So if you have a sponge, and if you put a lot of water into the sponge, it actually gets saturated. It cannot take up more and more water. And it's the same with carbon uptake by the ocean. So you can imagine the ocean is the sponge, and it takes up the carbon. But if we put a lot of carbon into the atmosphere, then the ocean takes up more and more until the sponge is saturated. So let's say if we put a lot of carbon emissions into the atmosphere in the future, at some point the ocean is saturated, or the sponge is saturated. Well, until now we are far away from saturation, but if we put a lot of carbon into the atmosphere, that would probably happen in a future climate, yeah. So if the sponge is saturated, then actually more carbon dioxide or CO2 stays in the atmosphere, and actually we have a more and more warmer climate, so the Earth heats up more because we have more CO2 in the atmosphere. Yeah, so actually the ocean is crucial to mitigate climate change so far.